GoBrave.org, a TuneIn radio station, part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network.
Broadcasting live from Hobart Hall in Wayne, New Jersey.
This is
The Innovative.
I think they're really unique.
The Fearless.
They have awesome variety.
The Kick-Ass.
I love Brave New Radio.
The Sensational.
I've never heard anything like it.
This is the one and only Brave New Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the host and guest and are not necessarily supported by WPSC 88.7 FM, station management, or the station owner, William Patterson University. Anyone wanting to offer differing opinions may do so by calling the show at 973-720-2738. Abusive callers will be rejected. Now here's your program on WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio.
Well, good morning. Good morning to you, and believe it or not, it is Saturday once again. It seems like we were just here, and I was talking to Harry and Freeman last week and Omar Tyree, and before you know it, another week has gone by, and it's Saturday again, and my guest is on the line. I'm going to get her introduced shortly, but as you know, I always kick the show off letting you know what's going on with the weather. I read from two books, introduce my guest, and then we make our way to our interview. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, if you don't know who you're listening to by now, if you're not a regular listener, this is your host, Marc Medley. We come to you live each Saturday morning from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock with the Reading Circle, and for our last few weeks, we've actually been doing Reading Circle double headers, and we actually have a double header on tap again for this morning. That is a great way for me to get more than one guest in on a Saturday and get through multiple guests throughout the year. So when we move into the Reading Circle doubleheader format, that gives me the opportunity to do more than one guest. Every now and again, we might even do a Reading Circle triple header where all three of the hours are Reading Circle guests or authors. And then because the format is flexible, normally, I usually do the 2 hours after the author interviews, usually the gospel music, the good news and song. So on the mornings where I don't have a guest or something goes awry, we'll have all 3 hours of the gospel music. So either way, you get a quality show, you get a good show. So let someone know that the Reading Circle is indeed on the air. You know the drill when I share the information with you. Get on all your social media sites and let someone know to tune in to GoBrave.org, where we web stream around the world. And if they happen to be in the northern New Jersey area, they can listen on FM radio WP 88.7 FM. So without further ado, let me let you know what's going on with the weather here in the northern New Jersey area, in the Wayne, New Jersey area. Let me let you know it's 51 degrees. I was actually able to walk out of the house this morning without a coat or a jacket, and that is my time of the year because I hate a whole lot of clothes. So to be able to walk out in a sweatshirt and a pair of jeans felt really good. But it's 51 degrees. We are working our way up to a high of 57. Going to be a low of 34 tonight. Considerable cloudiness with occasional rain showers. Partly cloudy skies this evening will give way to cloudy skies with light rain and even some snow developing overnight. Then tomorrow, Sunday, the 3rd, windy with snow showers before noon, partly cloudy later. We're going to have a high of 41 and a low of 30. Monday, rain and snow in the morning, turning to light rain in the afternoon, high of 51, low of 23. Needless to say, that snow is not going to stay if we get to 51. Tuesday, mostly sunny skies, high of 43, low of 22. A mostly clear sky on Tuesday night, and then rounding out the forecast on Wednesday, high of 48, low of 40, partly cloudy. Periods of rain during the evening. Well, that is the weather brought to you right here by WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. Reading from our two books. From The Power of Being Thankful for April the 2nd, Living with Confidence, such as the reliance and confidence that we have through Christ toward and with reference to God. A person without confidence is like an airplane sitting on a runway with empty fuel tanks. The plane has the ability to fly, but without some fuel, it's not getting off the tarmac. Confidence is our fuel, and this is why the confidence we find in Christ is something to be grateful for. Our confidence gets us started and helps us finish every challenge we tackle in life. Without confidence, we live in fear and never feel fulfilled. Confidence allows us to face life with boldness, openness, and honesty. It enables us to live without worry and to feel safe. It enables us to live authentically. When we know who we are in God, we don't have to pretend to be somebody we're not, because we are secure in who we are, even if we're different from those around us. Confidence allows us to live peaceful, joy-filled lives. Prayer of thanks. Father, I am thankful for the confidence I have in you. Thank you that I don't have to live an insecure, fearful, worried life. I can soar in my destiny because you give me the strength that I need. That's from the book, The Power of Being Thankful, 365 Devotions for Discovering the Strength of Gratitude, and that's by Joyce Meyer. From the book Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. Let's see what she says for today, April the 2nd. Iyanla says, I am willing to acknowledge I must pay more attention to the messages I receive from my life. Are you listening to your life? Are you listening to the subtle messages contained in every condition, situation, and relationship in your life right now? In which area of your life are you having difficulty? Do you understand what your difficulties are saying to you and about you? If you are talking back to the difficulties in life, are you being offensive or defensive? Is your life telling you that it will always be this way? Or do you hear that it is time to let go and move on? I know that's right. In what areas of your life have you discovered energy leaks, a scarcity of resources, repetitive motions that result in little or no advancement? Perhaps your life is showing you that you are struggling with all the wrong things for all of the wrong reasons. Is your life peaceful, fulfilling, rewarding, or is it strained, draining? Your life is always talking to you. Sometimes we listen as our lives and pay very close attention to what they are saying. But we are afraid to hear what our lives are saying to us, and more important, about us. Then there are those times when we do not know how to hear what we hear. We do not know how to do what we know we must to change the dialogue in our lives. When the conditions of your life are not peaceful and abundant, when the relationships in your life are not harmonious and fulfilling, when you do not feel good about yourself, what you are doing, and where you are headed, it becomes quite obvious to everyone that you are not a good listener. Until today, you may not have taken the time to listen to your life. You may be avoiding what life is saying about the adjustments and improvements you need to make. Just for today, make it a point to sit down and listen to your life. Listen to every experience, situation, condition in your life, and be willing to respond as a good listener would. Today, I'm devoted to listening to what my life is saying. I am committed to making the adjustments that are needed. That's from the book Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. That's our two readings. Since the show is the reading circle, that's why we read. Not trying to proselytize, not trying to convert, not do any of that, but reading from those two books kicks the show off in a positive vein, and the rest of it just kind of flows after starting off with, as Stevie Wonder can say, positivity. My guest, as I said, she's on the line, calling all the way from the sister or the city of brotherly love. Calling down there from where the Liberty Bell is, calling from the place we know as Philadelphia, and that is none other than Sharai Robbin. Sharai Robbin is an author, editor, and literary coach. She is the owner of Good Ground Literary Services, editor-in-chief of Black City TV Online Magazine, and long-standing member of Evening Star Writers Group. Robbin has a bachelor's degree in English and Communications from Temple University and is presently pursuing her master's in English in Arcadia University. Robbin's love for language shines in her debut novel, Candace Rain, the first installment of her urban royalty series with Straybor Books. Sharai, welcome to the Reading Circle.
Excuse me. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Yes, it is. And Sharai and I were laughing before going on the air because both of us were saying, wow, it's so early on a Saturday morning and we had long nights last night. So if we, either one of us doze off during the interview, you'll know why.
Yeah, you'll be aware. It's been a long evening, but, thank God for being able to be here this morning. So, and bear with me with my sniffle. This flu season, this weather, boy, it's really tearing up a few people.
Yeah, it really is. Because even right now, I have a mic button here, so I had to turn that off for a second and clear my throat as well. Mm-hmm. And I think it's that we're heading into the allergy season and all that kind of good stuff. And
oh yeah,
I know at my school I had I had a few teachers out that their kids had the flu, or either they had the flu, and I was like, oh, so I understand. So listening audience, we've given you the heads up. We're
aware.
That's right. We made you aware. So I tell you what, you know what to do. I'm getting ready to share some information with you. We call these things a public service announcement. But while I'm doing that, get on all of your social media sites and let someone know that Sharai Robbin is on the air with me. You won't want to miss this interview. Matter of fact, it's a wonderful continuation because Sharai, last week I had Omar Tyree in the second segment. In my first segment, I had Harry and Freeman, and she's a financial consultant that's written a book on getting out of debt. And then the second guest was Omar Tyree, and boy, we had a ball. So this morning, the fact that you're on here, and I know you're associated or affiliated with Zane also.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said you're affiliated with Zane also?
Yes.
Because you're Zane Presents, correct?
Correct.
So I know we're going to have some fun as well. So listening audience, you know the deal. Get on all of your social media sites and let someone know that Sharai, that's Sharai, beautiful name, Robbin, Robbin, is on the line with me, and you don't want to miss this interview. She has debuted her novel, Candace Rain. That's Candacereign.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This year, firefighters like Fire Chief James Hall will battle wildfires around the country in hopes of containing them. But firefighters can't do it alone.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile, or it can ignite and destroy your home and community.
Get fire adapted. Learn simple steps you can take now to reduce wildfire damage later at fireadapted.org. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council. Learn more at fireadapted.org.
All right. No, I did not fall asleep while I was allowing the music to play. I was doing exactly what I asked you to do. I was going on my social media sites, letting everyone on all my various sites, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, so forth and so on, letting all of them know that Sharai is on the line with us this morning. And we're going to be talking about her work that she has recently introduced. So, okay, Sharai, we're going to take this all the way back to the beginning. I see that you were an English and a communications major. So was that like your love as a child, or how did we wind up going into that major and was reading and writing your thing, or how did we get there?
Yes. To answer that question, reading and writing have always been my thing. I am fortunate enough to be able to say that I knew from the start that writing was for me. I was 8 years old. I went to a Catholic school in West Philadelphia, and we moved. My family relocated from West Philadelphia to Logan, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with Philadelphia, but that is quite a distance apart. West Philadelphia and Logan, very opposite ends of the city. But my mom didn't want to transfer me, and at that point in time, I was already familiar with the public. The bus systems and everything, so I was accustomed to public transportation. Excuse me, I told you I'm sleepy, but I was okay. I was already a latchkey. I grew up in that generation where it was perfectly okay for me to come home from school and have my key and get in the house by myself. So when we relocated, my mom just taught me how. At 8 years old, how to catch the bus to the L, to the subway, and then hop on another bus. And I was able to get home by myself. And I had been a reader. Bless God, I was always a reader.
Right.
And I stumbled across a book of poetry for my commute home one day. And in that book of poetry was a poem by Nikki Giovanni, Ego Tripping. And when I tell you that poem jacked my life up, man, I think I read that poem at least 11 times in school, and then read it on the bus 5 more times. I read it so much, I missed my stop on the train and had to walk back 6 blocks to my house because I couldn't believe that she just said what she had just said and that you were allowed to do that with words. I said, oh, no, that's not. Did she just say she was Jesus? Wait a second. Hold on a second.
Uh-huh.
Can you do that?
Right.
Are you allowed to say that? And it lost me. I couldn't believe that she was so comfortable and so confident and strong in just words. And I was like, oh, I need to do that. I could do that. I'm going to try that.
Right.
I'm going to play with words. I'm going to see if I could do that. And that was it for me. And I knew from that moment on that I wanted to be a writer. I didn't know how far I would go, but I knew that I wanted to write. And I started to write poetry. I wrote poetry is my first love, of course,
right.
After that. So I wrote poetry all the time. My mom used to tease me like, oh, it's just, Sharai sees a dead cat in the street. She's going upstairs and she's going to write a whole sonnet. We're going to have a whole notebook full of poems about birds and stuff. But, at that age, what did I have to write about? So,
right.
Yeah, that was it for me. And that progressed on into my life. I just kind of owned it. I owned it at a very early age. So all through school, I wrote everything I could possibly write. I wrote poems. I wrote short stories. And I was able to go to Girls High, Philadelphia High School for Girls. And that really fostered my desire, where there was an opportunity for me to get better, where my network of friends were supportive, where you were allowed to be a geek and still be popular.
Right.
It was a really great environment for me. And I had a fellow writer say the other day that writers are the nerds at the pool table. And I thought that was
that's right.
I thought it was the best quote ever, because that's exactly what it was like. It was like, this is great. I'm who I am, and I get to write. So I wrote, all through the literary magazine in high school. I edited the school newspaper, and that went on all the way through Temple University. So I just focused my education on becoming a better writer.
So it's interesting in terms of, first off, at 8, then you were reading Nikki Giovanni. And Nikki, I have Nikki on the show as well. She's been on the show. It's been a few years now, but I had the opportunity to interview her as well. And she was a wonderful guest. And again, just as lively and again, passionate about what she does. But it's real interesting that she touched an 8-year-old. And
man.
to the point wherein you now decided at that age, that's what I'm going to do. As I share with people all the time, for many people, it doesn't happen a lot, but the younger you have an ideal of what it is that you truly want to do when you're an adult, the more chance of success, at least in my mind, that you have. And I always use the example of Kenny G, the saxophone player. He had an experience kind of like yours. He was watching the Ed Sullivan Show and saw a guy playing a saxophone. He really didn't even know what the instrument was, but it touched him so much, he just said, that's what I'm going to do. Bill Clinton met John F. Kennedy when he was like 16, 17 or 18, somewhere around there, shook his hand, got a chance to talk to him. And from that point on, he said, I'm going to be president of the United States one day. And I share those stories because people who kind of lock in early, because that's kind of hard to do, because you ask kids all the time, as you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say, well, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a teacher, I want to be this, and it changes. But for some people, get very focused like you were, or like Kenny G, or like Bill Clinton, and what you begin doing is you actually put everything in place to work toward that goal. I mean, all of your decisions, the schools you go to, your majors, the courses, even with, and I tease people all the time about the Clintons, Bill and Hillary didn't necessarily marry for love. They married because both of them had objectives and goals in terms of the politics, this, that, and the other, and that's why they're kind of like where they are. But even to the point of choice of spouse, it gets into when you know that early that is what you want to do, you work your way toward it. So the fact that you knew at 8, I'm going to be a writer. So how did that influence in terms of, like, in high school, what courses you took? And you answered kind of one of my questions, because one I was going to say was, well, since you knew at such a young age that's what you wanted to do, what were you like with your classmates, and what were they like with you if you were the one always reading and writing? Did you hang with a group of kids that did that, or were you the one that was kind of odd girl out as the geek or the square or the whatever, or, you know, bookworm, whatever the names we used to get called, because I was that kid too. I was the bookworm.
Oh yeah. No, I was a bookworm, and I thank God for this all the time. Is that I have really great roots, even in a family setting. I've always been the bookworm, and my family kind of just accepted that about me. So it was never a judgment. It was always a fact. It was always, well, Sharai's reading. Sharai's got her nose in a book. Hey, put the book down, come play. You know, but it was never put to me in a derogatory way that made me feel lesser than anything or anyone. So even in school, I was extremely comfortable with who I was because no one made me feel that I couldn't be who I was. You know, I didn't feel, and I thank God for Girls High, because I feel like if I would have been surrounded by a bunch of boys,
right.
Maybe it would have been different. Maybe there would have been an emphasis on trying to be cute or,
right.
you know, whatever. But there wasn't. And my group of friends that I have from Girls High, and I still have these great friends, were always very supportive of what I did. And when you are very aware of what you like to do and you just go after it, it kind of just like resonates all over the place. So I was the person who liked to write. So I would write creative stories and short stories all the time. And it got to a point where I was, I hand wrote my first novel in high school. So I would write huge chunks and chapters at a time and pass it around. So I have like 40 pages of a story handwritten, going from one friend, she's passing it to the next friend, they're passing it to the next friend. By seventh period, there's 3 people waiting outside my classroom like, yo, where's the next what's up? Give me the next chapter. We ready? Can you hurry up?
Wow.
So it was like, let's have it. So by the time, 4 years had gone by, and I wrote for the literary magazine, I had great teachers. They taught me a lot about writing and editing. I actually came back to Girls High when I graduated, and student taught the next class so that they were able to, one of the teachers had gotten sick, and there was a stand-in who didn't know it well, the program well, but I had done it for 4 years. So I came back and was hired by the school district and student taught the girls who were just behind me once I graduated. So for me, it was really good because it just allowed me to be creative, allowed me to express who I was. And one of the cool things was being the writer for the school newspaper, I got the inside scoop on stuff.
Right.
So I had all the inside information. And when it came to taking pictures, I'm like, hey, God, take a picture. I'm going to put you on the front page. Come on, you look cute at the prom. Take a picture because we're going to be on the front page because I get to do that because I'm the editor of the school newspaper. So come on, let's go. So that for me was great, and I had great friends and, now we're on the front page of the school newspaper. So it was pretty cool.
I know that's right. For those of you, if you've just joined us, and I hope you've been with us since we kicked off at 6, my guest this morning is Sharai Robbin, and we're working our way up to her debut novel, because those of you who listen on a regular basis, we start from the beginning in terms of where the writing began, and the stories vary by week. For some people, they didn't start writing until college. Some didn't start writing until after a horrific event happened to them. Some, as Sharai did, started writing and reading whenever they were very young. So it varies, and I like to work our way up to where we are, because for some of you in the listening audience, I know that you have a book in you, and some of you are sitting there saying, I want to write a book, I don't know how. So the opportunity to hear the experiences of the authors, to me, I always think is phenomenal, because in many cases, just like you heard Sharai say when she was reading Nikki Giovanni's book, she was saying, I'm going to do that. If Nikki can do that, I can do that. For some of you, if you're listening, the light bulb may go off that says, wow, if Sharai can do that, I can do that too. And so you are giving you a feel for exactly how she got there. So I'm going to share some more information with you. I just posted again on Facebook that Sharai is on the line with me. I put it on my Facebook page. I'm encouraging you to do the same. Wake somebody up, text them, tweet them. You do what you need to do so that they can be encouraged by what Sharai is saying and by her book. And then ultimately go out and purchase the book. That's what, by the time we get to the end of the hour, that's what we're going to need you to do in terms of a call to action at some time during the day, or when you're at your book retailer, or go to the electronic version if we have it in that you order Candace Rain. So don't you dare move other than to let somebody know that the Reading Circle is on the air.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I did the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Think carrying 10 or 20 pounds of extra weight isn't much? We went to a park, handed 10 and 20-pound sandbags to people aged 45 to 60, and asked if we could follow them around.
10 pounds makes a big difference. Oh, I definitely felt it in my knees.
A few extra pounds each year can cause joint pain and lead to serious chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Wouldn't you like to drop that weight and stop picking up more? Visit hhs.gov/1 pound at a time to find out how. Obesity happens 1 pound at a time. So does preventing it. Brought to you by HHS and NIH.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed you are. You are listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley. We come to you live each Saturday morning, and we are indeed live again, and my guest is Sharai Robbin. She is the author of Candace Rain, R-E-I-G-N. And Candace is with Simon & Schuster as well as with Zane. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we move further into the interview. But right now we're talking about how Sharai got to where she got to. Now, that's not grammatically correct because you have two English majors here. So we have that in common in terms of being communications majors, because I have one degree in business, one in communications, and one in education. So I totally understand the English and the communication. And it warms my heart to hear that you, even as a child, loved reading. And the reason I say that is because I work with kids every day. Saturday, my day job on Saturdays is radio, but my day job during the rest of the week is principal of a school. And one of the biggest challenges we have is to get kids reading. And then if they are reading, to get them to comprehend what they read. Because many times they'll go, Mr. Medley, I know how to read. Oh, yeah, no, you know how to call words. And some of them don't do that well. And so there's a difference between comprehension and fluency and decoding and all those different things that are a part of reading, but you have to have all of them together. And so those of us like Sharai and I who are communication or English majors, we really understand that. And the trick is, because Sharai, in my mind, reading is the foundation of everything else. I mean, in terms of, regardless of all the other subjects, if you can't read and comprehend, the chances of you doing well in the rest of the subjects is not very high. It just isn't. And matter of fact, that's how this show came about 15 years ago, whenever the station manager was trying to put together something on reading, and our paths crossed, and I was a teacher at the time, and he said, I think you would be great for the show, so forth and so on. But the whole impetus for the show was to encourage people to read more. And I understand we have all the technology and everything now, but at the end of the day, folks need to be able to read and to comprehend. And I always talk about, I really don't care what you read, as long as you're reading. And so the fact that you've written now a novel, because that's the other thing, there's different types of reading or different types of information for you to read. It's totally different from reading a novel and reading a textbook. So when you're in school, we have textbooks and everything that we have to read, but a lot of times whenever either we're on our downtime, I'm sleepy as well, our downtime, or on vacation, or just sitting around the house when the weather's nice, one of the best things you can get yourself into is a good novel. It's better than watching a movie or TV. And I'm looking at your cover on Candace Rain, as well as your upcoming book, Prince's Homecoming, and the covers are quite provocative. So it looks like it would be something that would keep the interest of people. So, all right, you went through and your family encouraged you. And what about your teachers? Did they pick up on your talent and your interests?
Yes, absolutely.
Did they encourage it?
Absolutely. My teachers were extremely supportive, almost too supportive. You know, almost to the point where I don't think that I was ever told that I wasn't the most amazing thing since sliced bread until my last year at Temple. And I got into a short story writing course. And my professor, he chopped me up and was like, yeah, I mean, you're good, but you ain't all that. You know, you cool. You know, you got some natural talent. But what good is that if you don't get published?
Right.
You know, you got something going on for you. You got a God gift, kid. But now what? You know, what are you going to do with it? I was like, what? What do you mean? I'm not
right.
Next poster? What are you talking about? Are you serious? I'm amazing here. Everything I do is golden. And it was really the first time that someone had told me that I wasn't the absolute best writer there was on earth. And it was so humbling.
Right.
Because I knew at that point that and he was, you know, a much older guy, and he was just really seasoned in the craft, and he was pretty much like, you need to understand the skill behind it. You need to understand the business of it, and get into that, you know, not just being a natural storyteller, but understanding why stories work and elements that are crucial to making stories work. And you'll be a lot better off, you know, as a writer financially. You know, you'll have a better set of skills to move forward on. So I appreciated that so much. And my teachers, beyond that, were great. You know, but they were all just right. You know, I want to be a writer. Well, right. You know, I want to be a writer. Well, right. And that was the advice. You know, right. I want to write books. Write them. Okay, that's it. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll be back. So that was it. You know, it was really like just right. And I remember being in a class with a professor, Professor Maida Odom at Temple University, and I was reading a book in class. And I'm one of those people who reads the book from cover to cover. I read the acknowledgments, I read everything, dedication page, I read the whole book. So I was class was about to begin, and it was a newspaper workshop where we were going out. They were giving us an assignment to go out to the public schools of Philadelphia and help the schools redevelop their newspapers
right.
that help them. And I've done this all through high school. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I could do that. They sent me to Germantown High School. It's a tough high school. It's no longer. It's closed now. But it's a pretty, tough high school, and I'm a pretty tough person. So there was a lot of untough people in my class. So it was like, we got to go to one of these schools. Who's going to take Germantown? I'll take Germantown. My mom was in Germantown. I'll do it. And they were like, are you serious? Yeah, why not? It's up the street from where my grandma lives. I can handle it. It's not like I'm not scared. So so I was going, got all my paperwork. I'm reading now in class, and I read the acknowledgement in this book, and it says, I want to give a shout-out to one of my favorite people, Professor Maida Odom at Temple University, for editing my book. And I look up, I go, that's my professor. The book is shutting out the person who's teaching my class. So after class, I go right to her office, knock on the door. Dr. Odom, you know this person? You know this author? She goes, oh, yeah, I know Karen. I know, she's a great friend of mine.
Right.
Wonderful author. She's local. Look her up. Oh, no problem. So I look her up. Karen is having a workshop. Karen Equinonis Miller. I love this woman to this day. I'll never say a bad word about her.
Karen Kines?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. She's been on the show. She was one of my first guests years ago.
Oh, man. When I tell you that's my baby.
Oh, get out. See, that's a small world. Small world.
Is my heart right there. I love that woman. Man, it doesn't get much deeper. That's my heart. I mean, that's really my heart right there. So I look up Karen, and Karen's having a workshop, and the workshop is about $90. And I'm like, at this point, I think Karen's lost her mind. She's lost her mind. $90 is crazy. She's crazy. I'm not kidding. I'm a broke college student. This is what I say to myself. I don't have $90. So I'm fussing to my mom. Mom, $90. She wants me to pay $90 for this writing workshop. She's crazy. And my mom just as calmly goes, didn't you just buy a pair of boots last week for
That's right.
$140?
That's right.
And I said, you don't have to be right all the time. So she goes, I'm just saying, if you want to invest in your feet, you can invest in your future. And I was like, my mom makes me sick.
And she gave you some good advice. That's right.
Man,
she gave you some real good advice.
Good advice, boy. I didn't take my boots back, but I got the $90 up. I got my to that workshop. And it changed my life. And I have a professor now at Arcadia who always says that writing is like 70% of submerging yourself under another writer who you absolutely love. 70% is drowning yourself in this writer. And then the other 30% is reading everything that's ever written. And I love that concept. So Karen was my 70. Karen was the person who I just got up underneath of her, and she molded me and pushed me to take this manuscript that I had at this point for Candace Rain, which was about maybe 140 pages.
Right.
And she just ripped everything out of me that I possibly had inside of me. And I used to joke all the time, like, I'm just going to bring my Preparation H to the meeting because this is going to hurt. So, this is going to be tough. But it built up a tough skin for criticism and for understanding when you are not right. And, the things that I got from that professor who told me that I wasn't God's gift, Karen was like, I remember she read my first manuscript, and she goes, well, who do you think you are, Toni Morrison? Like, what do you do? I need you to calm down all these words you got going on. Like, get to the point, Karen. You're spinning all these words, and you're getting nowhere. Bring it out. Like, so it was definitely a push from mentors, from people who had done it and were much better and more seasoned than me. And for me, that is a blessing that I was able to, and still today, I keep this in my mind, to have a teachable mentality. I tell this to kids when I speak at different places, to keep your mind open to understand that you don't know jack.
That's right.
You don't know jack. You know so little of what there is in the world to know. So stop locking out the opinions and the advice from other people who have done this before you. Allow yourself to be taught, because there's so much to learn and so much information to gather from experienced people. And I'm just thankful that I was able to do that in so many different facets of my life.
Well, it's interesting once again for me to hear your experience, because in terms of commonality and similarity, the experience you had with the professor that said, you know what, you ain't all that. I had that twice. I had it in a writing class where I got, this professor would always write back in red pen, two-wordy, Toowrdy. And I got back a paper one time with two-wordy all over the place. I was like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, it really helps you hone your skills. And the second time that happened to me was in terms of Toastmasters. I've always been a public speaker, and I was in the Toastmasters Club, and again, I thought I was all that. So we come to the award ceremony, and I just knew I was going to get Best Speaker of the Year. I just knew that award was mine. When we walked into the hall, I just knew I was going to come out with the Best Speaker of the Year. So they go through all the awards, and I hadn't heard my name called yet. They get down to the last award, Most Improved. And at that point, I said, oh, well, I know that's not me. And sure enough, they said, Most Improved Speaker, Marc Medley. Like, but again, that was another humbling experience, because we do sometimes go into these situations thinking we are all that. And then you get a chance. And for people, like you said, it is a blessing, because that is where you learn, is from the people that really let you know, yeah, you're good, but you need to do this, do that, try this, try that. And Karen is one of my Facebook or LinkedIn friends or something. Before the end of the day, I'll make sure I shoot her a message letting her know that you were on the air with me this morning. And, but no question. So now you go into, and you've done all of that as a youth. You've done all that in school. Now you decide, because you kind of talked a little bit about it in terms of the manuscript for Candace Ring. Now you decide you want to write a novel. Where did it come from? Where did the storyline come from? How did you develop your characters? How did that all come about?
Well, Candace Ring came from, honestly, me not being able to see myself in urban fiction. Because I was reading a lot of what was being written at the time, and I could not identify with any of these characters. Okay. Nobody. Every female character either was ridiculously wealthy with these amazing bodies, having great sex, and had access to all of this money, and driving these great cars, and life was good, and they had some drama, with their rich husband and his mistress. Or there was the complete opposite, which is just so affluent, right? Well, ridiculously popular right now in urban, street lit, is the single mom, right, stripper, big booty, after the kingpin and his dollars, and she's trying to take over, the drug lord, right, and this is what it is. And I was like, I'm sorry, pause, flag on the play. Where are the women with educations? Right. Who has college, who has debt? Raise your hand, because I'm trying to figure out, where are the women who get up and go to work in the morning and have children to raise, and there's still drama in their lives, and there's still excitement and things that happen that are unpredictable, because that's me. Right. That's what happens to me, and I think that my life is pretty interesting. Maybe I'm the only person, but I know a lot of people like me. So maybe if I write their stories, maybe they'll be interested in a story about a girl like us too. So I wrote Candace because Candace was a real person for me. Candace was me. She was my cousin. She was my girlfriend. She was my sister. She was a person who I felt like her story was not being told, but it was being lived every single day. Every single day. And I needed to get that out of me, because and Toni Morrison says it, if there's a book that you want to read that hasn't been written, you write it. Right. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take the charge. Not a problem. I'll get it done. And I decided that I wanted to write Candace's story. And there were just moments and things in my life that were just interesting to me that stayed and lingered. Things that I'd seen, I was able to witness, and environments, places that I had been in that just kind of hung around in my mind. And me being a person a lover of detail, having been writing all of this long time, there were things that I just picked up and I wrote about, just small sections that turned, little things that happened in 15 minutes in your life that turned into entire chapters in a book. So that for me became the catalyst for wanting to write that story anyway. To write Candace was because I needed a real person. I needed somebody that I could identify with in fiction, and I couldn't find her. So I made her.
I know that's right. And I'm looking here in terms of the synopsis of the book on the Amazon page, and I see one of your characters is the little sister Marcy, and it's M-A-R-C-I, and that's my sister's name, and that's the spelling. It's rare that I see it spelled that way, M-A-R-C-I. I've seen the M-A-R-C-I-E, I've seen the M-A-R-C-Y, and so I'm looking at her strongest supporter is her buckwild little sister Marcy, and that's my sister's name.
That's my sister. And I say this is so funny. All of the characters in the story are composites of other people. They're put together of a little bit of, Candace is not me. People say, Candace, Candace is not me. She's a bit of me. She's a bit of my cousin. She's a bit of this person. She's a bit of that person. She's a bit of everyone. Marcy is my sister. Marcy is my sister, hands down, no holds barred. She is an exact replica of my sister Bree. Absolutely. Hands down. And to the point where that is the name. My sister's middle name is Marcine, and I call her my sister, but she's my best friend of 20 years. So at this point, when you get past a certain years with friends, we blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Family claims her.
Exactly.
We go on vacations together, all through childhood. This is my absolute very, very, very best friend since I was a child. So this is my sister. And her middle name is Marcine, and I call her Marcy. I've actually used to call her Marcy Darcy for Married with Children. So I always called her Marcy Darcy. And when I got to needing a support person for Candace, who better than my sister?
Right.
And because of the things that I witnessed and the things that she and I went through, it was like, oh, she's crazy. She's crazy. Some of the things that we've done or I've witnessed her do as a child was like, this girl is insane. I'm writing about it. I'm telling the world because you're nuts. And she was like, sure, no problem. I don't care. And at this point, she's so proud, that she has this character who is her, and she's got a T-shirt that says it. I am Marcy. She's extremely proud of this person because it inspired me. And there are times when I can't get into the Marcy character because it's far from me, where I'm like, listen, I need to, what's she thinking? What's up? What's happening? Talk to me. And this is her to the T. She goes, get dressed. Where are we going? Don't ask me too many questions. Just get dressed. Put something cute on. I'm coming to get you. And we go out, and we have a great night.
Right.
And as I'm driving home, she's like, you good? Yeah, I'm great. And I go home, and I write a whole chapter. And it's like, I needed that. I needed to get out and see what Marcy's doing. I needed to be in the middle of something because Marcy's always in the middle of doing something. She's somewhere. There's people, there's texture, there's lights, there's sound. You know what I mean? There's something that's happening in Marcy's world all the time. And my sister allows me to do that all the time. So it's wonderful.
Now, you're connected with two large names, and that is Simon & Schuster and Zane. Mm-hmm. How did you make that connection? How did you get affiliated? Because like I said, again, Simon & Schuster, large publishing company. And then you have Zane, who she's one of those one-name people. You don't even have to say a second name. You just say that one name, and everybody know who she is. How did you get connected with them?
I worked my tail off.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. I sowed the seeds. I sowed the seeds. I did the hard work. I got up underneath of Karen, and Karen is a well-connected person. I did what I needed to do. I hustled Harlem Book Stairs. I sat up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for years.
Right.
And I did what I needed to do, and I took the writing seriously. I didn't write a story, put it on CreateSpace, and have a smash hit novel. No, I didn't. I worked my tail off so that my submissions to major publishers were grammatically sound, that my story structure was on point, that my characters were well developed, that I didn't miss a beat, so that what I presented was absolute, as close to perfection as I possibly could get it. And I gave it my all so that when the opportunity came, when the time came, for me to start to submit my book for publication, I got rejections, but I was submitting to the wrong people. And I went to Walmart, and I just stood in the book, and I'm always in Walmart looking at the book section.
Right.
And I'm looking at the book section, and I'm looking at what my competition is, and I'm thinking to myself, this is where I am. Not competition, but my peers.
Right.
I'd rather say that.
Your colleagues, your peers. Absolutely. That's right.
Yeah, it is not a competition. We can all win.
That's correct.
So I'm looking at these people, and I'm thinking, this is where I want to be. And I start picking up book jackets, looking at things. And there's a lot of them that say Zane, a lot of them that say Straber Books. And I go, okay. Now, I know that this person, I know that Karen knows this person. I know this for a fact because I've read Zane's first book. And in her very first book, she shouts out Karen. Right. At Karen's house. Twice a week. So let me make a quick phone call. I need an in. I need a way.
That's right.
Something, because at this point they're not accepting submissions, and I need a way to get in the door. Help. She goes, okay. I love you, kid. You worked your tail off. Let me see what I can do for you. So she gets me an email. That's all she gets. Not to say, to minimize it, but she gets me an email. This is all you get, an email. No problem. I get an email. I send an email. I get the very, very typical, hey, thanks for sending this in. If you don't hear back from us in 6 months, congrats on the rest of your life. Oh, sure. Okay, great. Thanks. okay, now I got what I needed. I got what I asked for, so I have to keep pushing.
Right.
Months go by, I hear nothing. A friend of mine is an entrepreneur. He's a great guy, always pushing for the next thing. He goes, Ray, you got your book? Self-published, kid. You don't have to wait for nobody. Self-published. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do this because I can't wait around for somebody to make this miracle happen for me. I've got to do this myself. So I start everything that needs to happen in self-publishing. I learn everything that I can possibly learn. Reflowability. I formatted it now for Amazon, for Smashwords. I'm ready to go. Moby documents. I've got a taking pictures from the picture that you had posted for me. I went to a friend's house and took the pictures.
Right.
My girlfriend is standing on the floor beneath me with a fan, so my hair is blowing in the wind like Beyonce. I'm ready. Like, I'm doing this, you know?
That's right.
And I get it going. My book is now, so I get a graphic designer. I find the printer. We got a book cover. We're ready to go. And I get January 2014 was my release date. I'm all over the internet. I'm promoting. I get an email in December from the acquisitions editor over at Straber Books. Hey, Sharai, we've been trying to get a hold of you. We love your manuscript. We'd like to buy it. Wait, what?
Right.
Do you know I'm very self-published? Do you know how much work I've done and put into this thing? Are you kidding? Where were you 4 months ago, lady? Are you kidding me? And she's like, yeah. So what's up? And I get on the phone with her, and I'm telling her my story, and she says, well, you know, there's absolutely nothing that I can do to convince you. Because I know the work that you've done. And I can't tell you that if you self-publish, that will then be interested, because that doesn't always work that way. So the choice is yours. And I'm stuck now. And she goes, greatest question, well, what are you working on next? And I said, well, there's a sequel, Princess Homecoming. She goes, really? Well, tell me about it. I go off, tell her everything that's happening. And she goes, okay, Sharai, I cannot force you to sign with us.
Right.
But I can tell you that if you decide to sign with Zane and Simon & Schuster, I can offer you a 2-book deal right now for both books. I said, well, then send me the contract.
I know that's right, because that's the advance and everything else. That's right.
Send me the contract. Because as a kid, that was the epitome of success for me.
Absolutely.
That was it. That was all I needed. That is what I had aspired to my entire life. And I knew that's what I wanted. That I know people are going to get rejected. I know people, you know, they tell you that you're going to be a starving artist. You're not going to succeed in being a writer. There's no money in it. You know, I heard that all the time, but I didn't believe that for myself. And I believed that I was going to get a deal. And I wasn't going to just get a deal. I was going to have a multiple book deal. I believed it in my heart of hearts. So for that to come, it was like, that's exactly what I need. You don't have to say nothing else. That's it. That's all I've wanted. So I'm good. Send it over. And there you go.
I tell you said so many things that those of you listening, I hope you were listening intently. And I hope you were.
Speak so fast.
And that's okay, because my pastor speaks twice that speed. And so I'm so used to fast talking that I've kept up with every word. But for those of you who are listening, I hope you caught what Sharai was saying in terms of the hard work, because that's the first thing she said. I worked my tail off. All right. The networking, the connections, had the wherewithal and the sense to use the connections that she had. And then even with that, because prior to technology and the ability to self-publish, the only route that you really had was to send your manuscript into a major publishing house and go through the whole rejection letter process. So now, because we do have the technology, all right, I didn't hear anything, I got the rejection letters, and now, hey, guess what? I'm going to self-publish and do it myself. In the midst of that, because again, even with that, because the danger with self-publishing, and I've been doing this show 15 years, the danger with self-publishing is a lot of times you will get crap in terms of folks rushing it out there. They're microwaving it. They're just trying to get it to market. There's a whole lot of grammatical errors. And if it's one thing I hate is to be trying to read a book with a bunch of grammatical errors or either spelling errors, because that's like driving down the road hitting a bunch of potholes, or it just slows you down. Because I'm a speed reader. I can zoom through because I've learned speed reading. So whenever I get a book that's grammatically incorrect or a bunch of spelling, that stops me. It stops me in my tracks. I'm just saying all that to say a lot of times when people self-publish, you do get junk. But I heard you say I was meticulous. I was just as meticulous with my self-publishing as if I were turning the manuscript over. Then you got the call saying, guess what? We're going to take you. And now the beautiful thing about what I heard you say was you had now options. You had hey, I can go down this road and do it myself. It's going to be good. Or I can go down this road with Zane and Straver, and it's going to be good. And whichever one offers the best deal, well, obviously the 2-book deal was the best deal. But what I'm hearing is you did your homework. You put in the time. You were meticulous about it. You were not going to release just any old thing. And that's what I'm hoping those of you in the listening audience, I hope you're picking up on, particularly if you have in your mind that you want to write a book or you have that book in you. Do it. But if you do it, do your homework. Do your research. Be meticulous. Do not be satisfied with putting out anything with your name on it, which I'm going to ask you about in a second, just any old kind of way, because it will come back and boomerang on you. Because those authors that I have read that had all those spelling errors and grammats, I didn't purchase another book by them. And that's exactly what happens. People are like, well, you know what? I'm not getting anything else by that author because, first off, I can't read it because it's filled with grammatical errors and spelling errors. When I was talking about your name, because you said a whole lot in that last response, which was right on point, took away a few questions that I don't need to ask now. Because you just said it was your dream. You know, I believed, that was the other thing she said, I believed it from the time I was young. I believed I was going to be with a major publishing house with a book deal. It came to pass. When you were done with everything you needed to do and you now got that shipment at your house, you opened the box and Candace Rain was there by Sharai Robbin on it. What was that like for you?
I laid out on the floor. I laid out. Man, I couldn't get it together. I almost cried. I went out, you know, I had a celebration, I was in shock. Yeah. It was really real. And it just kept getting realer. For lack of better words. It just kept getting realer. And it was almost unbelievable because there was an issue and a rush in some things, and I did not get any galleys. So I didn't get any of the proofs. You know, sometimes they send out the proofs before you get to have the actual physical book, before they stick the cover on it. I didn't get any. I was devastated. So what I got was my 50 author copies. They sent them to me. And I laid there and I laid them on my chest. And I took pictures of them, and I took my mom out and I sat them on her lap and I made her take pictures of them. And it's so funny because my phone broke recently. Right. And I had to get a new phone. I just got a new phone yesterday, and I lost so many pictures. But there's this one picture that somehow from last year just managed to stay. I lost every picture from July of last year on. Right. And this picture it had to have been in July. It stayed. It was a picture of my mom on my couch with this book. But I was like, oh, thank God. Like, that's that moment that I don't even know if I could have been able to get that back. Exactly. She had the biggest smile on her face. So that stayed with me, but my heart I couldn't take it. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is mine. It's here. It's real. I can touch it. I can feel the pages in my fingers. It's absolutely amazing. And it kept getting better. I went on my book came out September 15th. My mom's birthday, September 14th. My book release date was September 15th. My birthday is September 19th. So my book launch I had on that Friday, September 18th. So I went to order books for my book launch, and they were sold out. I'm sorry, what? I called to order 200 copies of my book for my book launch, and there were none in stock. Wow. Completely sold out. I was like, are you kidding me? And the editor contacts me and goes, Sharai, that very seldom happens. Your book hasn't even released yet, and we are now having to do a second run. Wow. So you're going into your second edition of your book before it even hits the stores. I laid on the floor again.
I'm sure.
I just laid there. Like, what do you mean it's gone? It's sold out. But then I was scared. Like, I'm not going to have books for my book launch. Right. But I believe God. So I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So they had to do a rush shipment so that I could have 200 books for my book launch. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, yeah.
Well, again, as I was sharing with you whenever we talked a couple minutes before going on air, I don't have set questions. My questions really are kind of developed based on the conversation, but there are a couple that I always ask. The beginning questions in terms of where did we start in terms of the writing, and then of course this question about that feeling. And it is amazing how hard it is to put into words what that feeling is like for something that God has created through you that is now a physical product in someone's hand. And the listening audience, I know if you listen on a regular basis, you get tired of me sharing this story, but I share it each week because I asked the question for multiple reasons. But one of them is I know exactly what Sharai was trying to describe. Because Sharai, I've released 2 musical CDs. As a matter of fact, I used the music for the background in the show. And when the box came to my door with the CDs in it, and it said Marc A. Medley on the cover with the title of the CD, I had the same reaction. I was dancing around the house, holding it up in the air, running around. You really cannot believe, wow, this is a physical product that's going to go into the hands of people I don't even know. Mm-hmm. That's going to have my name on it. And have you had the experience of reading back through the book, like flipping through the pages and reading and saying, wow, I don't even remember that coming through me?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. I've read it again and was like, yikes, I did that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, wow. I mean, and it is an indescribable feeling. It really is. And it's always, every time I ask this question each week, I get the same, they're different words, but it's that inability to describe. Was that the only thing I liken it to? And since I'm a male, I can't necessarily say I know that experience, but as a father, I do know it from that perspective, is childbirth. That's the only other thing that I think would get even close, because truth of the matter is you have birthed something, whether it's a book, whether it's a musical piece, whether it's an art piece, whether it's whatever. You have given birth to something that I always share with people, that Candace Rain will be somewhere around in some format 100 years from now, even though we may be gone. It's going to be in somebody's trunk, somebody's attic, somebody's basement. Because books are around. Once they're out forever.
Forever. And my good friend of mine said to me the other day, probably one of the most romantic things I've ever heard anyone say to me. And he goes, well, imagine what it's like when you inspire somebody like Nikki Giovanni did you.
Right.
And I was like,
right.
Wow. Right. I never thought about it like that. I never. It has just been such a me, not selfishly, I'll say the truth, a me thing. It was, I needed to do this because I needed to get this out because I couldn't see myself. I never even thought about the impact that it would have on anyone else.
He's absolutely right.
It was such a personal.
And I'll tell you why. And if, as you go through and work with schools, if you go to school groups and take the book, whatever, I share, again, another story that I share almost weekly is when the show first started, I've gone through a couple different time slots. The one I'm on now is the longest. But at one point I was on Friday morning from 6 to 7:30. And in many instances, the author would be local and come live into the studio. And I was teaching. And at that time I would say, what are you doing after the interview? And I'm gonna go grab breakfast. I'm this and that. I said, do me a favor, come with me to my school and because I taught language arts, let my kids meet you. Sharai, when I would take that author into the class and they would have his or her book in his or her hand and their picture would be on the back or in the cover somewhere, and the kids connected that, they lost their minds. They would lose their mind, that the fact that they had an actual author standing in front of them talking to them.
Yeah.
The book was there with them. They could look in the back flap or on the back cover and see the picture of the person. And they're like, you wrote that? Yes. So that the possibility of what Nikki Giovanni did for you doing for another person is real. It is. I mean, whether we think about it or not, it's real. There is some child or adult, for that matter, that may read that book and something that you've written in there, or a scenario or a scene, or the fact that you, as you said, you wanted to keep it to like that's an area I haven't seen addressed. A woman with education that's struggling, and you know, right. So I mean, it may touch somebody and say, well, you know what? If Sharai can do that, I can do that too. It may very well, because you're passing it along.
You know what? And that's the absolute truth. That is the absolute truth. And I the other day was able to go to a career day at a Philadelphia high school, and it was a really cool way that they set it up. The room just kept flooding with kids, and I had a table, and there were like sections of kids. So I did a group of kids, and then they moved along. The next group of kids, and they moved along. They kind of interviewed me. We got to talk, and there was a set of kids at the table at one point, and the young lady goes to me, I didn't know that writers were cool. She goes, I like you.
Right.
And I said, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I like you too. And she goes, I didn't know that writers were cool. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, elaborate on that for me. What do you mean? And she goes, well, I thought that writers were like know-it-alls. Like, I thought they were, like they were kind of bougie and stuck up. And she was like, but you're cool. And I was like, I'm Sharai. I'm me. I can't fake it. I can't fraud it. I'm absolutely who I am. And I like this stuff. So for me, it's important for me to tell a story. It matters to me to be able to tell a good story, because stories matter. Our stories matter. My story matters. Your story matters. And and it's important for us. And we could get into that's a whole nother hour.
Absolutely. And that kid right there that you just talked about might be the one. Because the fact that, and again, that's why I tell you, in terms of reading and writing and all that, it's a tough sell for kids. But part of that tough sell is because they don't think it's cool. That kid hit it right on the point. They don't. That's why they don't like to read. That's why they don't do anything with writing. They don't think it's cool. But the fact that she could walk up to me and say, "Whoa, wait a minute, you're cool." You never know what you might have turned on in her if it wasn't already turned on, and if it was, you heightened it.
Right. I was so thankful for the opportunity. I was. And I like that part about it. I like that engaging part about it. The next group they gave me was a table full of boys, 6 boys, just looking at me.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I know that was going to be a whole different, yes, that would be a whole different experience, because they were like, oh, wow, she's cute. Wow, she's pretty. Wow, so now it's like, wow, she's a writer and cute? Oh, okay, now see, they're connecting differently.
But I had to figure out how to connect with them immediately, beyond cute, because I'm not here to be cute.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It was like, I'm a grown woman.
That's right.
And you're a teenager, so it's not about me being cute.
Right.
How do I connect with you? And I had to think about that for a couple seconds before I got into what I was giving them, and I had to think about what's important. And there's all these boys sitting in front of me, and they're all different. That's the key.
Right.
All of you are different.
Right.
So I had to get to them and explain to them that it's important for me to tell a story, because even though all of you are around the same age, you all go to the same high school, you all live in the same neighborhood, you might take the same bus, you might even like the same girl. Each and every one of you is a different person. There's a different story in every single one of you. You may not do what he will do. You'll respond differently to what he does. Your interests are different from his interests. And it's important for me as a writer to be able to capture that and make you a real person. Not him, but you. And that's why I do what I do.
And I had this conversation last week with Omar. Now, it's one thing to get the girls reading.
Like Omar. He went to school down the street from me.
Yes, he did. That's right. He's from that same area.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to get the girls reading, because some of them have a tendency to do that in general, because the girls usually like poetry, so forth and so on. But when you get a boy doing it, now you know you're doing something. When you get a boy that's going to say, you know what, I'm going to read that book. Or if you get a boy say, you know what, I write poetry too. I mean, years ago I had, and Omar is a poet as well, but years ago I had guys on the show that wrote a poetry book, and I said, weren't you ever concerned about other guys thinking you were soft or this, that, and the other, or the girls? He said, man, let me tell you something. If you are male and can write poetry, you'll have all the women you want.
All the women.
But it was like, but there are men and males out there who write. I'm going to take a stay at top of the hour break, if you will, because we did go into the 7 o'clock hour. You can hang out with me a little bit more after that. My next guest is calling in 7:30 or so, but if you can hang out for a couple minutes, I want you to have the opportunity to promote, and you'll be able to shout out and talk about anything other than a dollar amount. But as far as book signings, where you're going to be, how folks can get in touch with you, the websites. I know you're on the Simon & Schuster website if you have your own. I know you're on Amazon. Anything you wanted. The only thing you just can't say if it's $10.99 or $9.99 or $15.99 or $29. That's the only thing you can't say. You can't say the price. But anything short of that, you are free to do. But let me get the weather out the way and all that top of the hour stuff again, and then we'll be on for another couple of minutes. But I am thoroughly enjoying the conversation. And again, you have the opportunity. I think out of all the things that we talked about, the quote that your friend shared with you is real in terms of you are going to be, or are already, the Nikki Giovanni for somebody else as Nikki was to you. And that is powerful. It really is. And I'm going to make sure before the day is out, I'm going to download Candace Rain and start reading it later on tonight, because generally that's what happens whenever I interview folks. I generally don't get a chance to read the book till after we've talked. I may skim it or I know the synopsis, but I don't get to read it till after the interview. So certainly before today is out, I'm going to download it from the Amazon app, on my Kindle, And I'll begin because I need to start. Most of my books I've been reading have been on leadership, so I need another good novel.
Good, I'm glad.
And so Candace Rain is going to be it. So hang out, give you the opportunity to do all that promotion, and then we'll switch out. My next guest will be on the line, but I have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you this morning. I'm glad it worked out because I know, like I said, I contacted you for the reminder at the last minute late last night. And so I'm glad you was looking at your social media and caught it. And it worked out. God worked it out for good. So hang on, and I'll give you a chance to promote.
Thank you.
WPSC, Wayne, New Jersey. On the radio, 88.7 FM. Online, gobrave.org. A tune-in radio station. Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network.
Broadcasting live from Hobart Hall in Wayne, New Jersey. This is the innovative.
I think they're really unique.
The fearless. They have awesome variety. The kick-ass.
I love Brave New Radio.
The sensational.
I've never heard anything like it.
This is the one and only Brave New Radio.
Straight from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center, here's your local forecast.
Right now, 50.3 degrees, and it says it feels like 50.3 degrees. All right, so it's right on target. Actually, it just went up to 50.4. So we're working our way up to a high of 57, and then we're going to move back to a low of 33. Steady rain this morning, showers continuing this afternoon. Tonight, low of 33, partly cloudy skies. Coming cloudy early, 60% chance of rain tonight, and then tomorrow, Sunday, I actually see some snowflakes in the forecast. Wow. Windy with snow showers before noon, partly cloudy later, 41 is a high, 30 is a low. Monday, rain and snow again in the morning, turning into light rain in the afternoon. 51 is a high, 22 as a low. Tuesday, generally sunny, high of 42, low of 22. We're going to swing back down into the 20s. So on Monday, we're going to do a high of 51, low of 22. Tuesday, high of 42, low of 22. And then on Wednesday, high of 48, low of 40. Intervals of clouds and sunshine on Wednesday. All right, well, that is the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. My guest this morning since 6 o'clock has been Sharai Robbin, and her book is Candace Rain. It is a Simon & Schuster book, actually under Straber, and Zane Presents. She has earned that purple banner that says Zane Presents, and that is the book Candace Rain, Candacereign. The author is Sharai, Sharai, Robbin, Robbin. So, Sharai, let the world know how they can get a hold of you if they need you to come speak, or your book signings, or how they can get a copy of your book, website, so forth and so on. The mic is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The easiest and most practical way for anyone to reach me at this point is just off my website. I do a lot of speaking, and I love the craft. So I am working on some teaching opportunities to teach young adults in the city of Philadelphia about writing. But anything that I do, I keep abreast. I keep the information going on my website, and you'll be able to reach me, send any information to info@SharaiRobbin.com. You can buy the book from my website as well. You can purchase an autographed copy directly from me, or there's links to let you get it from wherever you need to get it from. Some people prefer the Kindle download, so you'll have access to be able to do all of that directly from SharaiRobbin.com, and that is the most efficient way to get to me, to get information to me, and to get anything from me that you need to get from me. And I love, 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 love to share. So I'm always open. I recently just started an April Writing Challenge, so there is a link on Facebook for Sharai Robbin's Writing Lab. If anyone's interested in being a part of this April Writers Challenge, please send a request to the link, and I'll accept you to the group. I'm taking everybody. It's not it's not just for writers. It's for anyone who's interested in being a part of this challenge. I just want to get people writing, get them going, get those wheels turning, get that creative energy going, because it's amazing what it does to you when you start to use those thought processes and you start to think as a writer. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I'm always available online, and all my handles are the same. It's always Sharai Robbin. So you'll find me online on my website, SharaiRobbin.com, Twitter, Sharai Robbin, Instagram is Sharai Robbin, Facebook is Sharai Robbin, Pinterest, LinkedIn, all of those, everything is Sharai Robbin. It's my name. So that's how you'll reach me, and that's how you can get a copy of the book. It's also available, in retailers. So if you want to pick up a copy at Barnes & Noble, it's there. At Walmart and Target, it's there.
That's always, and that's another thing, like we were talking about the whole thing of the book coming to your house and you put it in your hand and your name's on. It's another interesting feeling to walk into the store and see your book. And for me, over the years, I've interviewed, people from all over the world, authors of all caliber, from all, whether it's local or international, whatever. So for me to walk into like a Walmart or a Target, whatever, and look throughout the rack and say, wow, I've interviewed them. I've talked to her. I've done. That's another interesting feeling as well. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in Georgia with my mom and we went to a Walmart down there in Georgia and I'm walking her through the book rack. I'm like, Mom, and I'm like a kid. I'm like, I'm like 50 some years old, like an 8-year-old. Mom, I know that person. Mom, that person's been on my show. Mom, that author's. So that's another interesting feeling as well in terms of walking in the store and seeing something that's your product.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, it is. And so now when I walk in and I see Sharai Robbin, I know her. I talked to her.
That's right. It's exciting. I remember walking into a Walmart, was it a Walmart or to the Target, and there was one copy left. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. And there was a woman at the end of the aisle, and I was like, are you a reader? And she goes, yeah, I am. And I was like, what if I told you that this is my book? I wrote this novel. I'm from Philly. I'm Sharai. She was like, are you serious? Like, I'm so serious right now. She said, well, tell me about it.
Right.
And I said, I'll tell you about it. She said, well, if I buy it, will you sign it?
Right.
Absolutely, I'll sign it.
Right.
So I signed it, and we took some pictures, and she emailed me a few weeks ago and was like, she absolutely loved it and would love if I could come speak at her at a book club that her cousin hosts. And I'm like, absolutely. But that was just God pushing me to do that. But because it was in the store, I had the opportunity to share, my craft with somebody else and to make some connections.
I know that's right. One last thing before I let you go. Prince's Homecoming.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming out short. You know what? When it comes out, I'll have to have you back. We'll come back on the air again, and we'll talk about Prince's Homecoming. But that's to be released when? You said September? September 13th. I believe it's September 13th. So we're going a whole year round. That's all those birthdays and everything. Yep. I'll tell you, you heard me reference my pastor. His birthday is September 14th, and he does not see the other 11 months of the year. The only month he sees is September. He literally is up there on New Year's Eve watch night talking about 9 months later.
Yeah.
And so he's another September 14th baby. Mm-hmm. And so Prince's Homecoming is coming out in September. Then we'll have to schedule a date later in the year to come back on and talk about that and how that release went and everything. All right. Well, this brings us to the end of our edition of the Reading Circle, but I wish you nothing but the best. Like I said, before this day is out, I will have Candace Rain downloaded into my iPad, and I'll be reading it this evening. And I record the show, so I archive them on YouTube. But I also have it in MP3 link version, so I will email those to you whenever I'm done editing and everything, and you can do whatever you like with it.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for what you do. It's so appreciative. I'm just glad that this opportunity is here and that you take it seriously, this reading. It's monumental to who we are as people, and I'm glad that there are people like you who do this for a living and as a daily thing, and thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, because it is a passion for me, and just the fact that, again, I tell folks all the time, I am not anti-white. I'm really not. But I am pro-black.
Right. There you go.
And because we have been always labeled as an ethnic group or a people who are lazy, who are uneducated, who don't read, and that's just a straight up lie, because we do. However, it continuously needs to be encouraged, and whenever children see a Sharai Robbin, when children see an Omar Tyree, when children see Nikki Giovanni and many of the other guests that I've had on there, it does inspire and encourage them. So I thank you for being out there on the forefront, that kids see you and aspire to be you the same way you did with Nikki Giovanni.
I'm glad to have the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. So I tell you what, I don't know it, because you sound like you woke up and you were going. So I don't know if you're ready to. Right. I don't know if you're ready to go back to sleep and take a nap or not. But if you do, well, whatever you do, have a wonderfully blessed day, and I will be in touch.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Well, that brings us to the end of another Reading Circle, and we're going to start another one, because this morning is a Reading Circle double header.